Hello everyone and welcome back to another video by me, the WitcherGeorge. So today I'm going to be talking about something that it was one of the most interesting pieces of Witcher news that I've seen recently, and it is about Geralt in the next Witcher game. So Geralt appearing in the next Witcher game on The Witcher 4 has been a big topic for fans for quite a long time because everyone's been wondering, is Geralt going to make an appearance? Is he going to be in the game in some capacity? Could it be about Geralt? There's all these questions we have, but we have recently got some news from the voice actor of Geralt himself. I should say the English voice actor, Doug Cockle. So in an interview with Fall Damage, where he was recounting some of his famous lines, it's a good video, you guys should watch it, it's very fun for Witcher fans, he announced that he would be appearing in The Witcher 4, but not as a main character. And I'm going to read his quote directly from here, just so you guys get exactly what he said, and then I'm going to explain what I think this means. Doug Cockle said, "I can't say anything about it. What we know is that Geralt will be a part of the game. We just don't know how much, and the game won't focus on Geralt. So it's not about him this time. We don't know who it's about. I'm excited to find out. I want to know. I have not seen any script yet. I couldn't tell you if I did. It's just a thing. So I could be lying through my teeth, but I'm not. Or am I?" So yeah, quite cryptic there at the end. So we don't actually know how much of this to trust, because obviously he has to lie if he was even in the game, or in what capacity he would appear in the game. But I would just say that listening to what he initially says, it does seem that Geralt will be in the game in some capacity. This is very vague, because he says he hasn't even seen a script, so could it be a reference? Is he actually going to be talking in some way? We don't know. Or maybe he has been given a script and he's lying. But it seems definitely, if they're this far into production and he said he's not been given a script at all, it's not going to be about Geralt and he's not going to play a major role in the story. But who knows, he could be lying. So I wanted to talk about what I think this means in general if Geralt appears in the next game, or apparently he does, and how he could appear, because it would seem that if he's going to appear, it's got to be set after The Witcher 3, right? Well, maybe or maybe not. I've got 3 options today to discuss, and within these options there's a few more, but there's 3 general areas that I'm going to discuss, and let's just get right into it. So the first option is that the game will be set after The Witcher 3 in the chronology of The Witcher, with a direct Geralt appearance. So this means Geralt could just come up in the game somehow, set after The Witcher 3, maybe we go to Toussaint or something like that, and he's an older Witcher minding his vineyards, and we just happen to go on a little adventure with him, or just happen to talk to him a little bit, or just see him in that kind of capacity. And one thing I thought I'd mention is that the fact that Geralt's appearing at all does sort of indicate in a small way that Ciri could be the protagonist of the next Witcher game, which is something I've talked about in previous videos. I've been talking about it for years. In every Witcher ending, it's possible Ciri can survive, because even the ending where she supposedly dies, it doesn't confirm she actually dies. She just might not go back to Geralt after defeating the White Frost. And the same with the Empress, same with the Witcher. You could just have an event happen that means she has to found a witch school in some way, go off from being the Empress for a bit, or go off as a Witcher, which is also completely fine, and you just have a few dialogue changes. Same with the one where she apparently dies and then founds a school of the links, etc. And it could still completely work. And obviously, as Ciri has such a strong connection to Geralt, it would make sense that he would appear in the game in some way. It would be strange if she just completely ignored him for the entirety of the game. This could be a small appearance where he just gives her some advice, or it could be that he takes on a role within the school as training people in some capacity. That could be quite an interesting story to go for. It'd be nice to not have Geralt too explored, because there's some issues with that, and I'm going to talk about that a bit later, but that was one idea I had about how you could include him in a future Witcher game. Of course, as I said, it doesn't have to be Ciri, it could be any Witcher from the School of the Links, of course, because we know it's going to be about that game, that could just happen to run into him in some capacity after the events of The Witcher 3. So that is the standard answer for how Geralt could appear in the next game, but the next option is a little bit more interesting, I think, and it's that you could have a game set before the events of The Witcher 3, with a younger Geralt making an appearance. So perhaps Geralt's doing some contracts, it's before all the events of the books maybe, and you just happen to run into him and have a brief small quest with him, or you hear about him in some way through Dandelion songs or something like that. And that could be a really interesting way to explore the character of Geralt, because we've never seen a much younger version of him in the games in such a obvious way. And I was thinking, how would this work in the lore? Because Geralt never mentions there being a School of the Links. The School of the Links is never mentioned in the lore in any capacity. But as we know, they have added Witcher schools in the past, like the School of the Bear, School of the Manticore, etc., that were technically part of the games, but they hadn't quite talked about them yet, I suppose. But it could just be a similar thing to that, or it could be that because this was a younger Geralt when he had his full memory at the time, maybe when he got his memory fully back, maybe he just didn't happen to get this memory back for some reason. That could be an interesting way to account for this, or maybe he just makes a very slight appearance in the game and it doesn't warrant the fact that he would actually talk about it in later games. I mean, he's not sat talking about all the different Witcher schools all the time, just when he happens to encounter a member of the school, so I don't see how it would really break what's happened in The Witcher 3, and it would be a good way to do it because it wouldn't affect our decisions in The Witcher 3 as well. So the final option is an idea I had about setting it either after or before The Witcher 3, both work with this option, but you have a Geralt flashback, or a flash forward of some kind, and this could account for a variety of possibilities, not just Geralt appearing in a flashback, but he could appear through some kind of magical vision. I was thinking about in The Witcher 2 when you find the harpies and you get to view people's dreams that they've been stealing and you can see the older characters through that, or like the Eternal Battle where you can go back and see these older fights. I mean, it could be something like that, and we have seen flashbacks in The Witcher games before. We've seen it with The Witcher 3 especially, where you see the decisions as they happened and that allowed Ciri to get a certain ending or something like that, so it could be possible to have a flashback in some way where Geralt's included, or maybe he is a key figure in the School of the Lynx because he had influence on it or something like that, and we have these flashbacks of how it was made, something like that. Or you could have the same with flash forwards if it's set very far in the past. I was thinking about stuff in loads and loads of other video games where you can sort of see what happens in the future in the past because there's some magic involved, and it could be interesting to say, like, one day the White Frost will be defeated and it will be by these characters or something like that. So for example, the School of the Lynx, etc. establishes what could later happen in the games, and it could relate to the whole Child of the Elder Blood prophecy, and that could be an interesting way to do it, and obviously Geralt would appear in some capacity in that story because he's a very central character to the entire story of the books and games. So these are the three ways that I think Geralt could appear in the next Witcher game, but of course there are other ways he could appear as well. These are just three I've thought of. Maybe I could do another video about this in the future, but one thing I wanted to really stress in this video is just what I think about them including Geralt at all, because part of me just thinks, we finished his story with Blood and Wine, do we really need to keep having Geralt appear in the games? Is it good now just to leave him and think, right, we finished his story, that was amazing, it was a great trilogy, the books as well, let's move on now. But I think it really depends on how he is utilized. If it's a small appearance, my ideal appearance for Geralt would be, maybe you're in an inn somewhere doing a quest, and you hear about this white-haired Witcher, you'd go through the whole contract, then at the end you finally see him, and he's like, yeah, I didn't really want to talk to you that much, see ya. And it's just a little bit mysterious. It's like, oh, maybe the Geralt looks a little bit older, and we're like, oh, he kept doing contracts after what happened with Corvo Bianco, or maybe he didn't, maybe he just happened to do that single contract, something like that. So it's really, really vague, we don't really know what happened to him, so all the endings work, and it's just nice to see that old character and have that moment in the game. I think that would be a great way to include him. I think having him take on a major role could be a little bit sort of, it could take back a bit from what we did in The Witcher 3, but it really depends on the game. If it does end up following Ciri, which I've made a video about that, discussing the issues and the benefits of that as a video, I think that of course he should play some kind of role in that game, even if it's a minor one, because like sort of like a Vesemir role in some way, because, well, it's Geralt and Ciri, you gotta have him in there somehow. It'd be strange if she just ignored him, even in the ending where she might possibly die, and that means she doesn't like him as much, I suppose. It'd still be strange to not have him at all. So my biggest concern is just affecting what the player did in The Witcher 3 and what happened in The Witcher 3 in general, regardless of the player's decision, but I understand that CD Projekt Red does set their kind of own canon ending to what happens with the games and books, even though they don't really. They do and they don't. For example, The Witcher 2, you could say that it's probably canon that we didn't go with Iorveth because he just doesn't appear in The Witcher 3, but Roach does. But then we still get to have conversation about it, so it does work that we went with Iorveth, it's just Roach happens to like us still. So they do kind of have a canon ending for their games, etc., but sometimes they don't, and as I said, it's confusing because they have all these books set after the events of Blood and Wine, etc., but I'm not sure how canon they are to the actual story, or if it's just like kind of extended lore that could have happened. I don't exactly know if they're saying, yeah, this definitely happened, Geralt did this. It's very vague because the games allow you to make your own decisions. So I would like something possibly like The Witcher 2 or 3 where it's vague enough that our decisions aren't necessarily undermined. I don't know how they do this with the Empress thing, but they could just have a small dialogue option where they mention that Ciri is the Empress or something like that if it's set in the future, and then Geralt could appear in the mysterious way I described before. That's the ideal way I'd like him to appear. I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. This has been an interesting one to make. Let me know what you think about Geralt possibly appearing in the next Witcher game. Well, he will be appearing, we just don't exactly know how. How do you think he'll appear? What would you like him to do if he did appear in the game? I'm really curious about that. And yeah, go and check out my other channels, Ranger George and Viking George. I got some playthroughs on Viking George. I got some videos on other games on Ranger George. It's been really fun to make those videos recently. Thank you guys, I really do appreciate that. Subscribe here, subscribe there, it helps with the algorithm. Like the video, and comment down below. I really do appreciate the support, guys. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have an awesome rest of the week.